George W. Bush was born in New Haven, Connecticut in the year 1946. Soon after, his father moved the family to Midland, Texas, where he was raised. Both his father and grandfather were in the government, both senators, and his father eventually became president. He attended college at Yale University, class of 1968. After college, he was drafted into the Texas Air National Guard, where he flew F-102s with the 147th Reconnaissance Wing. He went on to graduate from Harvard Business School in 1975 and worked in oil business. He met Laura Welch in 1977 and married on November 7, 1977, after just 3 months of courtship. Earlier in his life, Bush was arrested for DUI and paid a $150 fine and had his license in Maine suspended for 2 years. In 1978, he ran for the House of Representatives for the first time, wholly unsuccessfully. However, he did very well for himself and gained a lot of money while he was still young. He was then able to work on his father's campaign for presidency. After gaining that experience, Bush ran for the governorship of Texas in 1994, where he won against popular Democratic incumbent Ann Richards. After that, he ran for presidency against Democratic incumbent Al Gore and won one of the most controversial elections in history. Since then, George W. Bush has accomplished many things as a president, some good, some bad, but has always carried with him pure intentions at his core.
Regarding President Bush's domestic policies, he faced many tough challenges. In response to the attacks of 9/11, President Bush created the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act helped increase Homeland Security by stating that the U.S. was allowed to indefinitely imprison, without trial, any non-U.S. citizen determined to be a threat to national security. The Patriot Act was essential in preventing other attempts of terrorist attacks in the years after 9/11. Other than Homeland Security, Bush also worked to improve education. During his presidency, Bush signed the No Child Left Behind policy to help all kids receive a successful education. President Bush also created many changes in the economy. Within a few weeks of his inauguration, President Bush created tax cut bills of $1.3 trillion. These bills were created in an effort to stimulate the economy, but only caused annual deficits and an increase in the national debt. This caused the U.S. to spend less money on maintaining things such as Social Security.
Following the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center, President Bush turned into a wartime president and had developed an outline of how to deal with threats against the U.S. in the Bush Doctrine. Essentially, the doctrine said that the United States would make no distinction between terrorists and those nations that harbor them. From this, President Bush justified his executive orders to invade both Afghanistan and Iraq. Early on in Afghanistan, American forces successfully disrupted the Taliban's power, but they did not capture Osama bin Laden. The usage of ground troops was limited, while airstrikes successfully took out high-profile targets with little risk for American life. The mission in Iraq was different. The main goal was to remove Saddam Hussein from power and remove any WMDs that he supposedly had possession of. In order to prevent Saddam from ever having an opportunity to use his apparent weapons, President Bush deemed it necessary to invade Iraq under Operation Iraqi Freedom. The operation moved swiftly at first, and Saddam Hussein was captured in December 2003, about 8 months after the fall of Baghdad. The second phase of the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq was to install democratic governments. In President Bush's own words, Afghanistan was the ultimate rebuilding mission. We have a moral obligation to leave a better government than the one we removed, and that we have a strategic interest in helping the Afghan people build a free society. In 2004, Afghanistan adopted the Constitution and successfully elected an executive president and adopted many similarities to the American government. Afghanistan has a bicameral body and a Supreme Court. In Iraq, the government became a federal parliamentary republic with a prime minister and president along with the Council of Representatives, a testament to the hard work of the Bush administration to achieve a democratic state in the Middle East.
The 8 years of George W. Bush's presidency will go down in history as one of the most controversial 2 terms ever. After 9/11, President Bush vowed to keep America safe, that all foreign and domestic terrorists will be brought to justice for what happened on September 11, 2001. And for the most part, he kept his word, with his administration thwarting countless plots against the United States. His economic policies were questionable because tax cuts no longer allowed the U.S. to find a war on 2 fronts. However, This expense wasn't anticipated, and under normal circumstances, a tax cut during good economic times furthers the incentive to spend and generate GDP. People forget that Bush was also extremely bipartisan. He essentially eradicated the AIDS epidemic in Africa, a goal of the Democrats. Additionally, he expanded the government by increasing the Department of Education and made the TSA a public entity as opposed to private. As for his war policies, the Patriot Act provided Americans with safety, which is the first responsibility of the president. Overall, George W. Bush is best remembered as the man who kept us safe when we needed it the most.
He is a man of integrity, courage, and honor, and during incredibly challenging times, he kept us safe.